All right, so we're going to dive into some pretty interesting stuff today. OpenAI, the ChatGPT folks, DLE,
Yeah.
all those big AI tools that have been making such a splash.
Right.
So they've been, kind of making these waves with their whole mission of developing AI for the benefit of humanity, right?
Yeah.
The interesting thing is they've been operating as a nonprofit this whole time.
Right.
But, and this is the big news word on the street, is that they're thinking about, get this, becoming a for-profit company.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, big change.
Yeah. That's a head turner for sure. Especially because, they've been so vocal about, ethical AI and all that. They even coined that term friendly AI.
Right.
Now it's like, are they going to stay true to that original mission?
Yeah.
Or is this like a sign of something bigger changing in the AI world?
Yeah, exactly. And the article we're looking at today from Tweakers, it lays it all out, right? They're calling it a move towards a company that has social welfare as its goal and operates sustainably. What do you think about that?
Well, it sounds like they're uh, trying to walk a really fine line here. The article mentions they're aiming for like a for-profit arm, but it still works for their nonprofit division.
Okay.
But, and this is interesting, both the CEO, Sam Altman, and the nonprofit side, they'd still have shares in the for-profit part.
So it's like they want to have their cake and eat it too.
Right.
But, not everyone's buying it.
Right.
The comments on that Tweakers article, firestorm, some people are straight up saying it's a bait and switch.
Yeah, there's definitely some serious skepticism going around. You've got Jumpman,
Yeah.
Zoogist. They're worried that OpenAI's whole thing, this nonprofit image, was just to, gain some trust, get some traction, and then, bam, they switch it up to a purely commercial model, profit over mission.
Yeah, and let's be honest, we've seen that before.
Exactly.
But okay, before we go full-on cynic here, isn't there an argument to be made that, becoming a for-profit could actually give them more resources to achieve those goals?
Oh, for sure. And they actually address that in the article. They're saying that this shift would let them bring in more investors and compete harder, especially with AI getting so big.
That makes sense. But then what happens to their whole open source thing? Because, one of the things that sets them apart is they're willing to share their research, make the tech accessible.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
And this is where it gets really interesting, because their whole deal with Microsoft, that could play a huge role in how this all goes down. Microsoft has poured a ton of money into OpenAI already. They're super intertwined.
Yeah, and Maverick 2001 in the comments brought that up. Like, is this whole for-profit thing more about Microsoft calling the shots than anything else?
It's a good point.
Yeah.
And it makes you think about this whole open source thing, right? Open source AI. It lives and breathes on transparency. Everyone gets access, not just some big company's secret vault.
And that's what's got a lot of these commenters worried. Long Stefan and Christux are basically saying, how ironic is it that OpenAI is ditching open sourcing right when their name is like the poster child for it?
It's that classic tech world dilemma, Open source has this huge potential, could level the playing field, but then you got to run a business. AI is expensive, man.
Yeah, no kidding. To be at the cutting edge there, you need serious cash. And if OpenAI is trying to hang with Google, Meta, all those giants, they got to bring in the big bucks somehow.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why the Microsoft thing is so fascinating. Microsoft could theoretically give them even more money, more reach.
So everyone wins, right?
Well,
but Long Stefan make a really good point. When these companies get bought out or they get super chummy financially, open source is often the first thing to go. Is that just how it works, or is OpenAI different?
It's the million-dollar question for sure, and it's happened over and over. Look at Sun Microsystems, MySQL. They started out all about open source, but as they grew, investor pressure, open source went out the window.
And now everyone's wondering if OpenAI is next. Plus, you've got those big names leaving the company.
Yeah, talk about bad timing, right?
We're talking some pretty big names here, though. CTO Mira Murati, Chief Research Officer Bob McGrew, VP of Post-Training Barrett Zoff. These aren't just any employees, right?
Right. And the big question is it just a coincidence? Or are these departures like a sign of some internal turmoil over this whole shift? The article kind of hints at some disagreements, but doesn't really give us a solid answer.
It's like trying to read tea leaves. So that brings us back to that bigger picture question you mentioned earlier. What does this all mean for the future of AI? If OpenAI, a company that's been so vocal about doing ethical AI development, is going in this direction, does that set a precedent for the entire industry?
It's definitely something to keep an eye on. Because imagine a world where the most powerful AI tech is just controlled by a few big for-profit companies. What then? Do we lose control over how it's used? Do we end up with a bigger gap between those who can use this stuff and those who can't?
So it's a lot to chew on. And the comments on this article, they reflect that. We've got people on both sides. Some people are saying that this move to for-profit could actually make things move faster. We might see breakthroughs that help everyone.
Totally. There's a strong argument for that. Profit incentives can drive progress, especially in a field as crazy competitive and fast-moving as AI.
But is there a risk that in that pursuit of profit, those companies might focus more on, speed and efficiency than ethics and long-term impact on society?
That's the tightrope we're all walking. And it's not just on OpenAI or Microsoft, it's on us all. Policymakers, researchers, everyone. We've got to have these conversations, right? Demand more transparency, more accountability.
Because at the end of the day, AI has the potential to change a lot of things. Healthcare, education, how we deal with climate change, everything. But we've got to do it right. We can't just jump into this new world with our eyes closed.
You got it.
So to all our listeners out there, we've taken a deep dive into OpenAI's potential shift to a for-profit model. We've looked at what it could mean for open source, their relationship with Microsoft, those interesting departures. We've also talked about the bigger picture, the future of AI, who gets to control these powerful tools. We want to hear what you think. Do you think this move will benefit ethical AI? Or will it hinder it? Hit us up on social media, share your thoughts, and until next time, keep asking those tough questions, stay curious.